Here's hoping this will give me the motivation to actually keep up on doing a sketchbook. Yeah, I'm not very good about that. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play, and today I'm going to be designing this Jane Davenport canvas journal sketchbook. It's a multimedia sketchbook, and it's got a white canvas cover. You may have seen me show this off a little bit in my Christmas art haul video. I actually got the idea of this from Jess Karp. I watch her channel, and she is like the queen of sketchbooks, and I first saw this sketchbook on her channel, and I couldn't even tell you how many sketchbooks ago it was for her because she does a lot of sketchbooks. But that was actually how I first saw her. Was I think the video I saw was her designing her sketchbook cover, and it was this sketchbook. And so really the main reason why I got this particular sketchbook was just because it's so fun to think that it's got a white canvas cover that can be painted. I just thought that was such a fun idea. And so shout out to Jess for that. I will link her channel in the description below because she is just such an inspiration. And so, but yeah, I thought that was a fun idea. And I like designing things. Like you've seen me do my, what was it? I had like a canvas box that I had painted a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but a while back, that I made into an inspiration box. And so this kind of feels along the lines of that. I thought it would just be a fun, quick project to do to be creative. And so let's see what I can do with it. I'm picturing something a little bit more abstract, like something that combines abstract and realism, maybe something with a sky, and I kind of want to use some tape. For some reason, I'm really feeling geometric shapes. So let's see what I end up doing with this. I'm going to be working with acrylics, and I'm just going to have a fun time with it, and I'm hoping it'll keep me inspired to actually do a sketchbook. I actually have a couple sketchbooks going right now, and I also have multiple deserted sketchbooks. I'm just not great at doing regular sketchbooks, but I'm hoping that this one will kind of change my mind a little. I guess it's got multimedia paper in it, and from what I saw in Jess's video, from the pieces she did in it, it looked like it was a really good sketchbook. So I'm hoping I'll be able to try all kinds of different supplies in this sketchbook down the line and just get really creative in it. So for today, I'm just going to design the cover. I have, like I said, I have a couple other sketchbooks that I'd like to finish before I actually work in this one. But yeah, I'm hoping it will inspire me to deep dive into it. So let's get to it. I have unwrapped it, and it is just like this nice canvasy texture. I gotta clean my table a little bit more thoroughly before really diving into it so I don't get a bunch of stuff on it, but I want it to look, and the paper, listen to that, nice and thick. It doesn't like seem to lay flat. A lot of the ones that are books like this don't, but, well, it might. But yeah, I think this is going to be really good paper to work on. I can see myself being able to do things with ink tints and watercolor and maybe even marker. I'll be testing this out later on, of course. I don't know when, but I will be actually doing stuff in it, and that will be on the channel eventually. But yeah, so I think what I want to do is I want to use tape to do some geometric shapes. I actually did in Microsoft Paint, stuff clings to it. I got animals, and so there's hair. In Microsoft Paint, I basically just did some geometric designs in it because I like to use, you know, the old school Microsoft Paint. It's easy to do straight lines and stuff in it because they have the line tool, and so I kind of did like a little mock-up on there of what I wanted my shapes to look like. But I think what I'm going to do is paint like a sky right over it and then peel the tape up and allow the design to kind of form that way. So I'm going to get to doing that, and yeah, I'll probably switch to voiceover for that because I don't know how long this is going to take me. But yeah, all right, let's get to it. Okay, so starting off with this, I knew I wanted to protect the edges of my pages, so I just took some tape and taped around those edges, so that way there I could protect the pages themselves from any blue paint, because I obviously didn't want to get anything on them before I actually got the chance to use my sketchbook. So I did that as you know, just a way to protect the pages. And then I came through with my tape and I looked at my mock-up that I made in Microsoft Paint, and I kind of used that as a base, but then I played it by ear and I made some design changes as I saw fit. So sometimes you'll see me put a piece of tape down and then lift it up and move it and put it somewhere else. And I just played around until I found a design that I was happy with. And I am using some artist tape to do this, and it is acid free, so that way there shouldn't be any archival issues. However, normally I'm not that picky about projects like this, but this is the tape that I use the most, and so that's what I had on hand. You could use cheaper tape like masking tape and it'll still do the same job. And then I didn't have any palettes down here, so I'm just using a paper plate with some tinfoil on it. And actually, it's a paper plate that had previously had other acrylic paints on it, and it's just kind of got more tinfoil over it. It's just going to have all kinds of layers on it by the end of it. But it's just a makeshift palette. And I'm just using some Daler-Rowney System 3 acrylics along with some Liquitex Basics, maybe? No, I think it's mostly Daler-Rowney. Oh yes, I did use Liquitex Basics for white. And then I almost brought in my Holbein acrylic wash for white because I really like how opaque it was, but my Liquitex Basics were doing the job for what I was doing here. So I kind of did a basic gradient all over the cover, and then I'm just coming through with my white fluffy clouds. And I'm not getting too particular about this. I left a few streaks in my gradient, and I knew I was going to be covering it with clouds, and I'm just having fun. I am just being laid back and trying not to be too much of a perfectionist. And I'm using a large brush for the beginning of it, and I can't remember what company brush this is, honestly, but it is a filbert, so I think it's a 1-inch filbert, so it's nice and it's a good size brush, and it's got a nice round edge, and that makes it easier to make kind of fluffy clouds. I'm not using any sort of reference for this, I'm just using my imagination. And I end up doing pretty much the same for the front and back. I didn't film the whole back of it. You'll see some of me putting some details in, and then later on I also come through with a smaller round brush and do some details as well. And these brushes are just cheap synthetic brushes. I think they're Taklon brushes. They're nothing too special. Again, I didn't pay attention to the brand. I just buy whatever I think is going to work for my purposes, as long as the bristles aren't falling out. So I'm not too particular about my brushes, especially for acrylics. Okay, so I want to talk more about this notebook itself. And I'm looking at the little page that came on the back of the notebook. This is a Jane Davenport, and Jane Davenport has all kinds of fun, cool products out there. Very unique products. I love the stuff that she comes out with. She's had a line before that looks like makeup, and she's just got all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm not at all surprised that she's put out something like this. She is also a mixed media artist, and so I think it's really great when artists put out products because they know what other artists are looking for. And so this is just such a fun concept, and I'm going to read the back of what it says. It says, capture the wealth of your mixed media creations with this foundational Jane Davenport fine art journal. This canvas wrap journal contains 86 pages, including the end papers. Each watercolor sheet has a dual texture. The cold press paper has texture on one side and hot press-like smoothness on the other for maximal creativity. Perfect for any novice or savvy mixed media artist. And since I work in so many different mediums, I feel like this is going to be a great notebook for me to use. I can't wait to really start diving in with it. And I feel like it would also be fun to do collage on. And so I think I'm going to get pretty experimental once I start really working with this notebook. And as you can see here, I'm just going through and adding some more like wispy clouds. And then I came through with a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, my white one, and just kind of buffed up those little white caps on the clouds a little bit more and smoothed out some of the texture once everything was dry. And then this dries pretty fast as well, so I knew I'd be able to peel my tape shortly after. I did let it dry for an hour or two before I really got into it. And I actually, when I did the front cover first, I let that dry completely, and then I did the back cover. Because as you could tell, I was using newspaper because I was working on my coffee table and I didn't want to get paint all over my coffee table. I was using flyers and newspaper, And I really didn't want that to get stuck. I actually did get one part of it stuck on the backside before I'd even painted the backside. Thankfully, I was able to paint over it. So I wanted everything to be completely dry before I moved on to the back. And then I let the whole thing dry again. And now I'm just kind of coming through and putting a few more details in. And now for the satisfying part. The paint did not come off. I mean, the tape did not come off as cleanly as I would have liked. There were definitely some edges there. There's always that risk when working on canvas because you've got that slight texture, and when you're working with like a watery paint, it can kind of get under the tape a little bit more. And this tape isn't high tack, like it's a very low tack tape, so I was kind of worried about that to begin with. However, I do come up with a solution for that, and that is to outline it with silver. I had initially thought about doing some silver in the clouds because, well, obviously silver linings, things like that. But I thought this worked out really well and went really great with the geometric kind of look with the straight lines and everything else. And it just cleaned things up nicely. But yeah, this actually, I've been thinking about this for a long time, how I wanted to do this design. And this is very much how I pictured it. So I'm really excited with how it came out for something that was just so quick with no reference and just like imagination and just playing, really. I'm not typically an abstract artist, but I've been really into geometric shapes lately, and so I wanted to find a way to do some dynamic shapes with soft, fluffy clouds and nice gradients, and I think that I achieved that here. And then I will be showing you what my real-time reaction is in just a moment. Okay, so here is my finished cover. I have a couple, like, I wrote on the end, I wrote Caution Artists at Play, I wrote my name. I didn't have that on there because I tried to use a Molotow because this has a nice fine tip on it, but it did not like the texture of the canvas, and so it was skipping and splattering, and so I ended up having to put it on my lap so I could have more control. I also tried using a Montana marker, which both these markers are great, but they had a hard time with the canvas texture, keeping the fine lines, and so I didn't get to film me writing either of those things. But here it is. I really like the graphic look to it. The lines weren't as clean as I would have liked. However, I knew I wanted to bring silver in somehow because I wanted to do like silver lining, and I'm using my oil-based fancy paint marker by Imuki for that, which I've done previous videos on those before, and I love them, and I just love the silver on it. So instead of outlining the clouds, I decided to clean up the edges with it, and I love how it looks. Like, it was just what it needed. Not just to clean up the edges, but I love the look of the silver with the blue and white, and it's just got these edgy little shapes in it, and I just love it so much. So I'm very happy with how it came out. It feels a little dry to the touch. So when the weather warms up a little bit, I'm definitely going to spray some spray varnish on it just to keep it protected. But I'm super excited and I cannot wait to actually try this out. I just want to show you the paper again one more time because, as I mentioned in my voiceover, it's got kind of a rough side to it and a smooth side to it. So I'm looking forward to trying this out when I finally get to the point where I have finished my other sketchbooks that I've been working on. But yeah, I hope that you liked this. It was just a fun little project to spend the day and get creative without having to be too picky about things. So yeah, if you like this video and you'd like to see more like it, please feel free to subscribe and like this video. Hit the bell icon so that you can get notified when I post. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. Bye.